My very special guest today is Sonia Choquette, who is a world-renowned revolutionary psychic, alchemist, healer, and spirited teacher. She specializes in instantly transforming people's vibration from a 5th-century paradigm of limitation and fear to a 6th-century paradigm of creative possibility and personal power, leading others out of the Dark Ages and into the 21st century. A best-selling author of 8 books, Sonia is a masterful visionary and mystic committed to activating the highest vibrational and intuitive potential in all. She is highly trained in both the psychic arts and metaphysical law, and has an extensive background in the mysticism of East and West. She is also a master of tarot, vibrational healing, esoteric astrology, card divination, and Western Kabbalah. And she has designed her own oracle decks for Hay House. So you actually grew up in an environment that recognized psychic awareness not only as natural, but essential to successful navigation and creation in life.
Yes.
Wow. What was that like?
Well, I grew up
That's an unusual home.
It is. And I actually think the home was the gift. People ask me if
Yeah.
if I have a gift in intuition, and I say, well, I did have a gift. But it's not intuition, because we all have that. Mm-hmm. It's not an exclusive gift anyway. But I grew up in a family that was really very matriarchal. My mother was our primary influence. There were 7 kids. Wow. And her history is a little bit interesting. She was lost from her family during World War II as a child. She was put in a work camp, and she had no resources other than she had a choice. Listen to what was going on around her, and it was basically certain death. Or she had another voice that argued pretty strongly that said, turn within, listen within, this is your protection, trust your vibes. And she basically followed that energy. Wow. She saved her life. She met my father as an American soldier when she was 15. They just came to liberate the town, and she married him, came to America. And she had also lost her hearing during the war. So her only resource for really guiding herself was this internal voice. And she said to all of us growing up, no matter what you hear, no matter what appears, no matter what people say, no matter how bleak it seems, if you follow your spirit and trust your vibes, you'll be safe. And that was our primary information in life. When you listen to your inner voice, you become aware of subtle influences. When your intuition doesn't speak your native tongue, it speaks vibration. It's the way that the language speaks. It affects your heart. It resonates in your throat. It vibrates in your belly. And when you pay attention to that, it becomes expanded. There's vibration on every level. There's nature spirits that speak to us. Our animals speak to us. Their spirits speak to us. But there's also guardian angels and healers and teachers and our departed ancestors. And in our home, that was normal. Even when we would set the dinner table, we would always set one place for the visiting guide or the visiting angel, or maybe one of our dead Romanian relatives, or one of our dead French relatives passing through. But we always acknowledged that there was more than meets the eye.
That's amazing, because I've read of your commitment to legitimize, protect the mainstream, acceptance of psychic ability. It's amazing. Well, how do you, first of all, how do you do that, and why is it so important to you?
Well, what I think is, first of all, the word psychic. You can't say the word psychic with people kind of going,
yeah, she knows what I'm thinking.
And that's exactly right, because what that word implies and what is so
that
scary
you've invaded me.
Is I see you.
Yeah.
And that frightens people, but what they don't understand is that when what I see is beautiful. And the word is also feminine. It's a word that cuts through and it resonates, because the word psychic itself means of the soul, of the feminine, non-literal part of us.
Wow.
But yet, and this is interesting, because I've combated the bias and the discrimination all my life, and fortunately that's flipping now actually at exponential rate, because people are beginning to have so many psychic experiences. But the interesting thing is, if you would interview, for example, people are very successful. Like in 1980, they interviewed 100 top CEOs in Harvard Business Review and asked all of these CEOs, top of their game, what do you attribute your success to? And all 100 said, my sixth sense. But I wouldn't publicly
say that.
that.
Interesting.
Now in our present time, I think people are starting to say that.
Yeah.
And if you don't have your intuition, you won't live your full potential.
Exactly.
So that's my mission. It's like, let's take it out of the closet because we're all experiencing it behind closed doors.
Yeah. Well, I think what's extraordinary is that when people are extremely good at something, usually also what they will say is that something has spoken through them.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, it's like it's you never. I mean, I know that when I act, at times when it's the best is when I don't know what I've done.
Right, you're streaming.
You know, because I'm not.
You're
because I'm
in
not
the flow.
responsible. Exactly.
And that's one of the things I write in one of my books, The Psychic Pathway, is that when you are really loving something, you open up your psychic abilities to connect to the quantum field of that frequency, that higher vibration.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a thoughtless process. It is no longer coming through your left brain. It's just flowing from your heart. And that is what the sixth sense is.
That's fantastic.
It's you're in the vibration of that expression.
That's great. So what would you recommend for us regular folks to do to tap into our psychic ability or intuition?
The first thing I would recommend is to consider it not only natural and normal, but essential. And really be open to that. This is a hardwired part of my brain. In the 21st century, it is no longer the question, does it exist? Even science has isolated parts of the brain, the heart, even the gut, that respond energetically to the world. So get current and change your attitude and fast forward to present time and start recognizing this is part of me that
it's
is
already
normal and I am using it. That's like turning the intuitive flow on. That's the most important thing. Be open.
Right.
And then the second thing, which really accelerates it, is to expect your intuition to work. You expect your ears to work, you expect your eyes to work, you expect your nose to work. You don't think about it. So just be in a state of expectation because that creates a vacuum. When you expect something, you pull it in.
Yeah.
So expect that I'm going to be informed.
Yeah.
And then if you name it, you claim it. So learn to speak comfortably about your vibes. People who speak about vibration and about their intuition comfortably experience it very regularly. So you have to have a language. And whatever language works. For example, the word psychic, sadly for most people doesn't work. Okay, throw it out. But vibes, my gut, my hit, my sense, my sixth sense, my higher self, my spirit, whatever. And then this is a very important piece. Speak about it positively. Don't say, oh, a weird thing happened. Say something fantastic happened. I just got this incredible hit. I didn't even think about it.
So you keep charging it with the positive manifestation that it will come to you more and more and more. And
so you're training your own subconscious mind that this is a good thing.
That's a good thing.
And it's like noticing stars. First you notice one, then you notice another, and then pretty soon the whole Milky Way explodes. And it was there all along. It's your awareness that's shifting.
Right.
So, and then I think it's very helpful to have what I grew up with, which was positive mirroring. My mother talked to us all the time. I had 6 siblings, and we would talk to each other. I have a vibe, and then you just get people to hear you. Not do anything about it, not justify it, just say, yeah, I hear that, because you put it out there.
Yeah.
And the more you put it out there, the more you legitimize it. When you put a name on something, you say it's real.
Yeah.
And that really makes a difference.
Yeah. What are some of the steps that you use for creative manifestation?
Oh, I have one that'll take you right to the end.
Wow.
This is my super psychic highway to manifestation. Are you ready?
I am so ready.
Just know the outcome. Know the outcome.
Right.
When you can go, and I actually wrote a book on manifestation.
Really?
It's called Your Heart's Desire, Creating the Life You Really Want. It's actually in quite a few universities.
Yeah.
But the super psychic highway to the end is know the outcome.
Okay.
So if I'm going to create an experience, say I want to create a new job, I don't hope, wish, pray. I just know I'm going to experience that. I'm going to experience that. And I also have noticed when you say create, people get scared. I can't create. So I tell my students, don't worry about creating. What do you want to experience? Just know what you want to experience next. And don't
Be
worry,
very clear about that.
be very clear, but don't worry about the how. Your part is the what. The universe's part is the how.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the how,
The universe has got the big work.
I tell my students, just say to the universe, surprise me.
Yeah.
I trust you. Surprise me.
I don't know how it's going to happen, but it's going to happen.
And you get out of your own way.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's the super psychic.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to break it down a little bit shorter, you have to you know the song, The Hokey Pokey?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I created a manifestation song that goes to the tune, The Hokey Pokey. You put the thought in your head, then you close your eyes, you take a big breath, and you visualize. You put it in the belly, but your heart is the best. That's how you manifest. So you put that in your brain, and people start thinking, okay, well, let's make it that simple.
Yeah.
But the thought in your head is the first thing. You have to feel it.
What if you were to give advice to people who are in emotional pain?
Right.
What would that advice be?
My advice would be to reframe the experience from a more loving perspective, from the perspective of your spirit, because the pain comes from your ego, really wounded and judging it as a failure. And if you come from the place of spirit, my eternal spirit, and you reframe it as, well, Earth is school, and this was my classroom. And though the class was challenging, what did I learn? And if I can, when I take the gift of what I've learned, you can graduate the class. You don't have to repeat it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take away from the pain. It just says reframe it so that you recognize it wasn't for nothing.
For not. Yeah.
Right, for not.
Yeah.
And that you didn't flunk. It just was really challenging.
Well, and sometimes that's the way you have to
Right.
get something. Unfortunately,
Right.
I mean, but
Yeah,
also
and the truth is, I really feel that our pain is our opportunity to remember, am I coming from ego or am I coming from spirit?
yeah, I've spoken to Debbie Ford, and she talks about the shadow and just being able to,
Right.
Acknowledge the shadow, and then
Right.
then it kind of disempowers it. It
Right. You
shakes
just
it
have
apart.
to say, well, that's what it was.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Forgiveness is actually just basically coming to a place of saying that's what it was.
Yeah.
It
It's
wasn't
being
anything
real
else.
honest, saying what
absolutely.
is. Yeah.
It's what it was.
Yeah.
And what did I get from it?
Yeah.
Because that's all I can walk away from.
Yeah. So how would you define spirituality?
We kind of have a personal problem with spirituality. I don't think we should be spiritual. I think that is a mental construct that we carry around that says we should be other than we are.
True.
I actually encourage people to be spirited. Let the spirit in you lead. The spirit that gives you life. Just let that be your leader. Let that be the force that animates and expresses in you, and that sees the world through you, and that draws conclusions, and then you're not trying to be something else.
Yeah, when you're not trying to be outside of yourself, because then you're striving to be some perfect something that's not you.
And honestly, have you ever seen some spiritual people? They don't feel natural. I have to tell you, I was in a workshop. I was teaching a workshop last Saturday in Nevada City, and this woman came up on stage who was in great pain. And I asked her what her name was. And she said, Krishna. And I looked at her and I said, who are you really?
Yeah.
Krishna's
Really?
a man. I said, Krishna's a man. Besides, I tried to be Jesus for a while, and that didn't work out either. The way you are is pure spirit.
Yeah.
Driving
and
you
your
around
unique individual
yeah,
is,
and it's
is
glorious.
your expression of,
and this is your body, and this is your movie, but your spirit it can't be improved upon. So that's my take on being spiritual.
Yeah.
Just be spirited.
Be spirited.
Be your joyful, moody, unpredictable, creative, dynamic self. You can't get better than that.
What would you say to somebody who doesn't think they're spirited?
I'd say your spirit. That's a good question. I say that your spirit left. And when your spirit leaves, there's not a light in your eyes, and there's not a smile on your face, and there's not a dance in your feet. And so that means somewhere along the line, you stop being yourself.
Yeah.
And what you want to do to bring yourself back is just start remembering what you love.
Yeah.
And say so. I love bike riding. I love a good cup of coffee. I love really good underwear for me. and not the paramedics. You know, for me, I love playing with my kids or my dog, or I love fresh flowers, and you will call those pieces of your spirit back.
Yeah.
So that's how
beautiful.
you know, a lot of people in this world are walking around and their spirit they left.
Yeah.
And the eyes go dead, and
So just reminding yourself of those beautiful things that just move you each day.
There's actually a Greek word. It's called kephi. Kephi is the spirit, and when you lose your kephi, you lose your spirit. And I'm actually on a personal mission to bring your spirit home.
Yeah.
Because with it comes your intuition, comes your creativity, comes your joie de vivre, comes your charisma and your healing powers and all the things that we aspire to. It's your spirit.
Yeah.
And that's what your intuition is. It's your inner teacher, your inner voice, your spirit. So that's, you know, we all have a role in this world as we try to bring ourselves to higher consciousness, and my role, my personal role, through all my books, through all my workshops, is to bring your spirit home and wake it up, let it take over.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're going to shift gears because we are here because of the Spiritual Cinema Circle. And what are some of your favorite transformational films?
I love the cinema because it allows us to connect with experiences that we forgot we can have, or to be empathic to experiences that reawaken our compassion and reawaken our capacity to be creative in our outcomes. So let me think. Now, some of my favorite cinema is absurd and perhaps would be considered not terribly elevated, but
you don't know what we've heard.
One of my favorite is The Love Guru, because it makes fun of all of us. And I love that because even in the mockery, what he's saying underneath is correct. So that's one of my favorite movies. Another favorite movie of mine, which again reflects me and really being able to laugh at life, which is how you bring your spirit, is the movie Waiting for Guffman.
Oh my gosh,
I
so
love
funny.
that movie. I
Hilarious.
feel like that movie is hysterical.
Yes.
And it reminds us that it's all theater. Life is theater. And when you take yourself seriously, like when he's sitting in that tub with the, you know, that's us when we're suffering our life.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely, I run along those lines.
I think that's wonderful.
And actually clear down to Spinal Tap. I mean, if we're going to go back to the beginning, these are people who refuse to give up on their creative expression, and yet we see all the goofiness.
In spite of their brain damage.
Yeah, exactly. So I am a big fan of absurd humor.
And I think it's so wonderful that you bring up because laughter is so healing and so beautiful.
And my teachers taught me laughter makes the devil run away, and the devil is fear and illusion.
Yeah.
So when you can laugh till you're crying, when you are so caught up in the absurdity of life, you get your power back.
Yep.
So that's the style of movie that I really love.
Like that.
And it reflects. Now I am very profound, and I am and actually my mother, one of her favorite things is spiritual cinema. She's deaf, but she watches spiritual cinema every month.
Oh, wow.
She teaches A Course in Miracles, and part of her class is to watch those beautiful movies.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And it's her ears to the world. So those are some of my more recent favorites. Movies.
Do you see film as an opportunity for social connection?
Absolutely. I actually think that I would actually like to start at some point clairvoyant cinema. Visioning, which is a part of clairvoyance. People have lost their encouragement to vision, not their capacity, but just their encouragement to activate.
Society says no, that's
right.
It's a little woo, it's a little too much out there.
And I just feel like, and what I love about spiritual cinema and what I love about YouTube is that it breaks from society.
So you've already told me what kind of films you watch, which I think is brilliant. But where do you watch films? Do you watch them at home? Do you go to movies? Or do you do everything?
All the above. In fact, a movie I just saw that so loved because my father just passed and he lived with my mother. They married when she was 15, 62
wow.
years was Up. That man in
Oh.
Up, that man is my father.
Wow.
And I saw that in a theater. But you know, I travel a lot and I teach a lot, so I watch movies on my computer.
Yeah. Yeah, don't we
In
all?
fact, that's my recreation and that's my rejuvenation is at the end of a teaching day or an end of a work day or the end of a writing day. In goes the DVD, and up comes my little Mac, and on comes the laughter.
Yeah, that's
It's
good.
it's my healing.
So you believe that films can be used for social change?
Oh, absolutely. They just change our mental channel.
Mm-hmm.
I have a friend who's an actor in slasher films. And I used to have an issue with him. It's like, why are you doing this? And he said, because it lets the shadow come out without you having to actually be the shadow. So I get that. And he's actually a very spiritual man who introduced me to one of my first spiritual teachers.
Yeah.
So I get that. I feel that we could use film to ignite our imaginations, to expand our perceptions beyond our own subjective ego experience, which can be very small.
Yeah.
I think film can give us a capacity to resonate with more global issues and not be so self-centered.
Well, what are some of the films that you think have had a positive impact on society?
I actually think some of the Pixar. Again, I'm such a
I like it.
I'm a happy fairy.
I like
am.
it. You're
But
making
I
me
think
smile.
some of the Pixar movies that bring us back to our inner child, like Up and Toy Story, and you know, just the animation that takes us out of the literal world and reminds us that we should be children again and look at the world from that more simplistic view. Those are the kind of movies that I think have a tremendous healing impact.
Yeah.
And I think our intellects tend to be very serious and very self-important. And I think it's part of the problem.
Yeah.
So I like the more childlike, silly approach to film.
So do you have any spiritual cinema circle films that are some of your favorites, or?
There was one, I can't even remember the name of it, but it's just along the lines where the two of them are ghosts. And they fought and bickered as a couple. And this guy buys a house, and they occupy the house, and they bicker and bicker and bicker. And they really come to learn, even on the spirit side, that they have to resolve their problems. But I'm afraid I forgot the name of it.
That's
and
okay.
It's such a good film because it teaches that even when you pass over, you're not instantly enlightened.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And it's such a good film. And then I saw this other film. And again, I don't remember the name of it, but it was 2 minutes long where this man had a garage and he put wanting to hire someone.
Right.
And this guy comes and he's so joyful. And the guy hires him and he works in this garage and he says, why are you so joyful? Because he was so cranky. And he said, well, my wife died in childbirth. And so now I have to be happy for 3.
Oh, wow.
And it was like a 3-minute or 7-minute film.
Yeah, that's what I love about the shorts. I mean, that's what's
The
so beautiful
shorts,
about
just.
the circle is that you get these little slices of heaven. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Well, I do have to say, when I go home, that's what I do with my mother. I lost my brother and my father a year ago, within 6 weeks of each other, and both of them were perfectly healthy.
Wow.
So it was quite devastating, but especially for my mother.
Oh, of course.
And spiritual cinema healed her.
Wow.
She watches spiritual cinema almost daily.
Wow.
And it healed her.
Yeah.
It healed her and gave her a way to keep on going.
Got her out of her pain.
And that was a pretty incredible thing. So it's actually a cornerstone for our family.
Wow.
When we go home with my mom, we all gather around and watch spiritual cinema.
That's great. So if you yourself had, any kind of talent, all the money you needed, and whatever else you needed to make a film, what film would you make?
Oh, I have one in mind.
Oh.
And that
exciting.
film is a film that I actually am going to try to make. And it's
I'm
based
not
on,
surprised.
It's, well, because why not? I mean, I either will or I won't. But I want to make a film, and I'm intending to make a film based on my next book called Traveling at the Speed of Love. And it's going to be sort of an MTV singing, dancing, laughing version of the spiritual messages we all give, because what I want to do in my film is actually convey the vibration and not just the words. I want to speak to that experiential part of you. Plus, I think I'm kind of a frustrated rock and roller.
I think so.
I do.
That's
I do. I feel, but I want to create a film.
But all you have to do is see the end. You just have to see the
that's
outcome.
Exactly what I'm going to do. I feel like we'll manage somehow,
Yes,
and it'll either
exactly.
be good, bad, or indifferent, but it'll be something. And the point is, I would love to use the medium of film to help people remember how to have fun and laugh, because I think people have forgotten.
I think so too.
And
I love this.
And I just really want people to remember it heals you. Even when I was at my brother's funeral, I was at my brother and father's funeral. Okay, they were going to be interned together. And it was a pretty sad moment.
Yeah.
Crisis.
Intense.
All the family. So we had their ashes side by side. And each family member got up to speak, and I got up to speak, and I was really animated, and I knocked my brother over. I mean, it was like, jump and catch my brother. And it was like, and the next thing, our whole family is just
like, meet the
hysterical. It was, and I knew that was my brother's and father's orchestration.
Oh, sure.
That don't cry.
Don't take it all so serious.
Don't.
I'm still
We're here. We're here. And so that's my commission from God. That's my commission. So we'll see if it works out.
So what about the future are you really inspired about or extremely optimistic about?
Well, I do think that there is a lot of anxiety about coming 2012, and I'm annoyed again at the infection that is going on. But it is the end of an era. Some people say, "Is that the end of the world?" And I said, for some.
Yeah, exactly.
For those who are controlling and linear and refuse to recognize the spirit and work in fear and intimidation and are bullies and they bully themselves and others and keep us all submissive, well, that might be your D-Day. For sure. That might be the end of it for you.
It's time for certain things
to
change.
But there is definitely a new spirit awakening in all of us, and it is the spirit of remembrance. That we are divine co-creators, and we're gonna get it. We're going to get it. We're getting it, and it's growing in pods. And there's going to be this synergistic transformational shift, and it will happen. Yeah. And so it's the end of an old era, and it's the beginning of a new one. And so that's what this is all about. So I, for one, am pretty optimistic.
That's awesome. You seem it. It's been so much fun. You just bring a smile to my face, and you're just.
I love you. I love this conversation, and thank you for
you.
sharing it with me.
No, thank you for sharing
all your
joy.
Thank you.